I stand amazed. The vocabulary that you're going to need for this song, I, me, and you're going to be just pointing to yourself. Both words are exactly the same, just I or me. If you're talking about God and you use he with a pronoun, you're pointing to the person that you're talking to, he being God or Jesus up in heaven. Stand. In the context of this song, it means to continue. Now, I'm right-handed, so my right hand is dominant. So I'm going to place my dominant thumb on top of the non-dominant thumb, and it's going to be pushed out, or continue. Amazed, and it's just like you are taking the F hand modified, and it's like, whoa, look at that, amazed, so that you're popping them up like your eyelids would just come wide open. In the presence, and you're thinking of God up here and yourself down here. You're face to face, or you're in the presence of. Of, fingerspell, O-F. There are just some words that you have to fingerspell. Jesus, we're going to take a look at the nail prints in the hands of Jesus. Center fingers, Jesus. Wonder, and you're going to just, it's the W hands, and it's just like, oh, my brain is thinking, I'm wondering. Nazarene. Now, you can, what we call finger spell it. Most of the time, you don't have time for that. So if you do in and city, and it's just the rooftops, if you put the fingertips together, it's like you're looking at the rooftops of the houses, but there are several of them. How? Fingertip to fingertip, it's just like you're putting your hands kind of together and then rolling them down. How? Love, get a hold, and it's just like you're hugging yourself. Love. Sinner or sin. Sin is the double X hands, so that it's like a hook that gets into you. Anytime you do a sinner, though, it has a person ending. Condemned, judged. And if you think of the lady that holds the scales and she has the blindfold on, you see the scales in her hand for judge. Unclean or guilty, the G hand over on basically the shoulder area. Guilty or unclean. Marvelous or wonderful, both of them. Oh, you're just pushing it to the highest. Wonderful or marvelous. My, a little different than me, but open hand. Anytime it's possession, you're opening your hand. My, thee or thine, his, same thing. Song, you put your non-dominant hand up, and you're going to be like you're leading songs over the top of your arm. Ever, and you're going to push it to the extent. That's the E hand. It's a complete circle, and then push it to the limit. Savior, save, is you're crossing your hands, and then you're bringing them out. Notice that both hands are in the S position. Save, and remember person ending for any time it is a person. Savior. 4. Think of your forehead and it just flips out. 4. In, and you're going to pinch your dominant hand and put it into almost like a cup that you're forming with your non-dominant hand. In. Garden, anytime you're talking about a plot of land or something of that sort, you're going to start away from your body, forming a square, back to yourself. Notice it's in the G formation, in the garden. Pray, and that is to ask. And it's just like you tell little kids, fold your hands, we're going to pray. Not, thumb off of the chin, pulled out. Not. Will, and this will is like a law, so that you've got the W against the showing formation. Will. Law is here. Will is the same thing except initialized with the W. Will. But cross your pointer fingers and bring them apart. But. Had or have, and you're just getting kind of a hold of it and bringing it toward yourself. Have or had. No, and it's two fingers snap down onto your thumb, just like Mom would say, no, and you're come down, and the force that you bring it down is indicative of what you're meaning. No. Tears, and you think of the tears that are flowing out of your eyes. His own, or for himself. And anytime you do the word self, it is a thumb toward the person that you're talking about. Himself or for his own. Grief, and if you take and put your fists together, it's like a crushing motion, like you're crushing something between your fists. Grief or sorrow or suffer, all of those are exactly the same thing. Sweat drops, and you're going to think of all the things that are flowing, just like you go outside and you're sweating and all the sweat just pours off of your face. Blood, think of the color red, and then it flows down off the back of your non-dominant hand. Took or take, get a hold of it and bring it toward yourself. Took or take. Made, and it's just like you're going to pound with a hammer, twist it and pound it again. Made. Them, and you're just going to designate that there's something out there. Them. Bore or endured, and this one means to endure, so it's the thumb against your lips. Bore. Endured or bore. Burden, and it's just like you're putting it on your shoulder, so you get a hold and just it's like you're pushing down, like it's a heavy burden. Calvary, we're going to start with a rock formation, both hands basically in an A formation, and then designate how it goes uphill. Now that becomes the mountain, and then you make the cross on top of it, the hill or the mountain of the cross. Died, two hands straight out and they keel over. Died. Alone, one finger, and it's just kind of a small circle. He's alone. Where, and it's just back and forth. Where. With. One hand is with the other. A formations together. With. Ransom, very similar to save, but with the R formation and bringing it out. Ransom, and remember, if it's a person ending, you have to put that person ending on there. Glory, you're going to see from the center of your palm, your dominant hand kind of shimmers as it goes up. Glory. Face, body parts, you either circle or touch. Face, you're going to circle. Last, if you think of, that's the first digit, that's the last digit on your hand. So just kind of brush it off. Last. C, your two hands from your eyes. You're noting the vision that is coming out. Twill. Now, this one it's more emphatic. Most of the time I don't sign it, but if it's emphatic in the sentence, bring it from the side of the face out. Twill or will. Joy, the J hands, and it's just like happy, J for joy. Through, your dominant hand, palm up, goes through the fingers of your non-dominant hand. Through. The ages, and this just means time, so point to where your watch would be on your non-dominant hand. And again, sing or song. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he could love me, a sinner condemned unclean. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. For me it was in the garden. He prayed, not my will but thine. He had no tears for his own grief, but sweat drops of blood for mine. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. He took my sins and my sorrows, he made them his very own. He bore the burden to Calvary and suffered and died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. When with a ransomed in glory, his face I at last shall see, 'twill be my joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me.